Shabbat Shalom, and welcome back to our ongoing conversations with sacred text. So let's begin with scuba diving, something which I know almost nothing about. My son, my daughter-in-law, their two kids are all licensed scuba divers, but let me stipulate that I have learned absolutely nothing from them about this challenging sport. But I want to believe that when the scuba diver returns to the surface and frees themselves from their breathing apparatus, the fresh air that greets them is most welcome. They were breathing, apparently, quite comfortably in the depths of the ocean. But fresh air is just that. It is fresh air. I feel the very same way when we encounter this week's twin Sedras, Ahare Mot and Kedoshim, beginning with Leviticus 16:1 and following. We learned, and at least I learned, a great deal these past few weeks, especially from the way that Mary Douglas constructs an absolutely stunning parallelism among Mount Sinai, the tabernacle, and the human body. Because of her insights, I can never again read the early chapters of Leviticus quite the same. But our twin Sedras this week are pure, fresh air. No artificial support needed. We turn from details concerning the tabernacle, the clothing, and the consecration of the Kohanim, and encounter texts blessed with soaring ethical messages. The Ten Commandments are re-emphasized here, even though their order differs from the Exodus version and the Deuteronomy version. We encounter the command, Kedoshim Tihiyu, you shall be holy. And we are taught to pursue the imitation of God's noblest qualities as the highest standard for human behavior. We also explored the depths of meaning that surround Yom Kippur. There's beautiful stuff here, including how a scapegoat, a literal scapegoat, can symbolize the removal of guilt, a pervasive human need. I want to say that our texts are breathtaking, but that would destroy my clever use of the scuba metaphor. And I want to say that each and every one of the commandments enshrined in our text is praiseworthy and noteworthy. I really want to say that, but I can't do that. Among the laws regarding permitted sexual relationships and safeguarding the centrality of family life, laws that are foundational to the Western notions forbidding incest, there is a toxic homophobia that has become the so-called sacred rationale for acts of hatred, of discrimination, and even of murder. I would say that some of our texts could stand a bit of pruning. So let's agree that fresh air isn't pure mountain air, but overall, it truly is life-giving. Let's look at several great examples. In his Essays on Ethics, Rabbi Jonathan Sacks pointed to a linguistic anomaly at the very beginning of the Sedra Kedoshim, Leviticus 19:1. Sacks reminds us that up until now, Leviticus has focused mainly on priestly duties and obligations. That's why Leviticus is often called Torah Kohanim, the Torah of the priesthood. But here, suddenly, Moses is told by God, Daber el kol adat b'nei Yisrael, speak to the entire, kol adat, the entire Israelite community, and say to them, you shall be holy, for I, the Eternal, am holy. Kedoshim tihiyu, be holy, all of you, not just the priests now, all of you. A unique statement in Leviticus. This is the first and only time in Leviticus that such an all-inclusive phrase is used. Speak to the entire Israelite community. The Levitical family, the Kohanim, the Levim. The Levitical family isn't the only group commanded to embrace holiness. Holiness is not restricted to proper sacrifices, the appropriate celebration of Shabbat and Yom Kippur. Holiness is not a mandated aspiration just for religious leaders and officiants, or to be applied solely to the sacred precincts of the tabernacle. Speak to the entire Israelite community. When they harvest their fields, opportunity for holiness await them as they leave the corners of the field for the poor. When they sit in courts of law as judges, as witnesses, as plaintiffs or defendants, opportunities for holiness await them as they speak the truth and seek justice for all people, no matter what their socioeconomic status. When they're selling produce in the market stalls, holiness is available as they use untainted weights and measures. When they hire day laborers, holiness is found in the fact that they pay those laborers at the end of their work that day. When they loan money to others, there is holiness in how they protect the dignity of those who have come to them in times of need. Sachs, I love this. Sachs calls this the democratization of holiness. What a great phrase. The democratization of holiness. When the Second Temple was destroyed, when the work of the Kohanim and Levim was no longer needed, when there no longer was a tabernacle, democratic holiness became the lodestar of Jewish life. Holiness would be found in study. You could be holy in your study even if you are an Am Haaretz, even if you're an ignoramus. Holiness would be found in everyday activities. Holiness would be found in our search for meaning with a capital M. Holiness would be found within our families. Speak to the entire Israelite community. Yitz Greenberg takes Lord Sachs's teachings and pushes them even further. Yitz reminds us that if we see a person in mortal danger on Shabbat, holiness is to be found in saving that person's life, no matter that would involve a violation of the Sabbath laws. Now, we Jews didn't come to that understanding easily. During the Second Temple period, Jewish armies would still refrain from warfare on the Shabbat at great human cost. But then sages and scholars reminded us that V'chai Bahem is a foundational teacher These mitzvot are to be lived by, not to die by. Torah is a tree of life. The mitzvot are to guide how we live. Life is holy. And in self-defense, the holiness of a human life is superior to the demands of the Sabbath. Yitz reminds us, by the way, he says this, that those ultra-Orthodox Jews today who have been evading health mandates are, in the words of Maimonides, apikorsim, heretics. Yitz says it is heretical to endanger your life by claiming some sort of religious exemptions. That's not holiness. Heretics. Yitz always calls things as he sees them. Devorah Weisberg quoted the Iturei Torah, which in turn quoted one of my most favorite commentators, the Sfat Emet, quote, "Only through the power of the collective can the individual be holy, not just through one's powers alone." Holiness is ours, but not only ours. We can achieve holiness best in the hands of an entire society devoted to seeking behaviors worthy of those who hold fast to the Torah. Shabbat Shalom. Remember the phrase, democratization of holiness, our collective goal. Have a wonderful week.